Our next guest is a former UFC welterweight champion and now takes on Kelvin Gastelum at one of the biggest cards of all time, UFC 200. Johny Hendricks, welcome back to Submission Radio.
Hey, thank you for having me. How y'all doing today?
Doing very well, doing very well. Very excited to have you. Now, Johnny, we've taken a bit of a look through your Twitter and we noticed you've been doing a bit of fishing with the kids. Give us the lowdown. How did you go and what were some of the big catches?
I just try to get the girls outdoors as much as possible so they're not, for one, they understand what outdoors can bring them, and two, they're just not sitting at home being on iPads or the computer all day long. So whenever I take the girls, I usually do sand bass fishing. We just troll around until we find them. We'll throw in a couple of lines, and whenever we snag them or whenever they bite it, we'll set the hook, and then we'll let our girls reel them in. And also it's also fun for them because you're like, reel, and they can do that, and it keeps them entertained.
Oh, do you remember the first time you went fishing with your dad, Johnny? Does it still stand out in your head?
Yeah, it does. It does. I was I was not a good bass fisherman. We used to go catfishing with limb lines and trot lines. Excuse me. And we would check them every 2 hours. It's more of a just get together and have fun type atmosphere, where we'd go out on a river, we'd camp out in the middle of nowhere and spend the weekend together. That was sort of our fishing trip. And that's sort of what I want to do with my girls as well, is just get them outdoors. Like I said, I love the outdoors, and I want them to as well. So that way, whenever they get older, they can live off the land sort of like the way I do.
Yeah.
Or if there's an apocalypse, they can provide for themselves.
Yeah.
Now, Johnny, this time going around into your UFC 200 fight, the MMA community, hasn't really heard as much from you. Tell us, how did you cope with the loss of Stephen Thompson?
It was one of those things that, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to say much, and I didn't want to get out there and sort of what we were thinking and sort of where my head was at is that, our main focus. Stephen Thompson's a good fighter, and I think he proved that this weekend. But for us, it was always the weight. I missed weight with Woodley, and so I put forth the weight cut more than Stephen Thompson. And that was a bad mistake on my part. And second is that whenever we sparred, everything's a learning curve for me, and I try to constantly evolve myself. And I didn't for that fight. And one thing we didn't do, that every fight that he has fought, he's always came forward. He's always moved forward. He's always like an aggressor, and so we were sort of planning on him doing a little bit of movement, not a whole lot like he did. And so whenever I did my sparring sessions, they would do some movement, but as soon as I would do my movements, I would trap them and I would throw my hands. And that's sort of what I did the first minute. Okay, I know it wasn't a very long fight. I think it was like 1 minute and 40 seconds. And so the first minute, I did exactly what I was supposed to be doing. Well, all of a sudden, he went to game plan B. Maybe he thought he could do game plan A. If that didn't work, he went to game plan B. Well, I didn't work so much on the game plan B of him trying to run away. Throw the kick to run, in a sense. And that's sort of what he did. He threw the kick to run, and whenever he did that to me, I lost my cool. It doesn't happen very often, but I did, and that's whenever I took the center of the octagon, I was like, fight me. We're here to fight. We're not here to run around. We're here to fight. And as soon as you think that, it's all downhill. And he capitalized on it, and he finished me. All right. So sort of what I'm doing now is sitting here going, all right, this fight, I'm planning both ways. Gastelum might, every fight I've seen, he moves forward. But guess what? What if he learns from that fight?
Mm-hmm.
What if he's sitting here saying, hey, I can actually, what if I throw a couple and get him to chase me, and then he'll get flustered, and then he'll take the center of Osgon, and it'll be easier for me. Well, we're working both game plans.
Mm-mm. Before we talk about that fight, I'm just wondering, a lot of people aren't happy with Tyron Woodley getting the next title shot. Do you think that after he beat you, Wonderboy should have gotten the shot instead?
You know what? Above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Above my pay grade. Hey, I'm not here to predict fights or set up fights. That's Joe Silva and Dana White's job. My job is here to fight and prepare my best for each fight I can, and that's sort of, I got away from that. And that's another thing that I have done is that this fight, nothing else matters except for Gastelum and Gastelum for July 9th. That's it. I've always answered other questions and I've always said, this is who I'd like to fight next, da-da-da-da. I'm sort of getting away from that. I learned a lot from this last fight, or in return, what I've done is set myself back and told myself what got me to where I was, what got me the success that I was able to get. One, the good Lord blessed me with a lot of things. Two, have your mindset right. And what I mean by that is saying no one else matters, nobody else matters, except for the person who's standing in my way today. And who is that person standing in my way today? That is Kelvin Gastelum, or Kelvin.
Yeah, for sure. Don't forget the beard. I think the beard is a big attribute to a lot of your success. Now, a lot of people pointed to the fact that you left your longtime camp in Team Takedown, and that was for your last fight. Now, looking back at it, did the fact that you had to organize your own coaches and run everything yourself, did that have an effect on your performance? And I'm wondering, will you still be organizing your own training camp this time around, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm still organizing it, but like I said, for example, it was hard to find sparring partners last fight camp. One, somebody who can throw kicks like he does, right? Mm-hmm. Second is that finding places and people who would spar me. For some reason, they think I'm going to hurt them, and I don't. I'm not going to. So, and that's something that a lot of people are starting to figure out, is that I'm not going to hurt them sparring. I'm not going to try to be pardon my French, but a douchebag in the gym. Mm-hmm. I want training partners, and I want people that can, that want to train. And so I only got to spar 3 or 4 times from my last fight. This fight, I don't know how many, I'm sparring twice a week. So that's one thing that's changed, being able to get people like that. So it just helps my timing and helps me understand what I need to do and what I need to work on.
Okay, well, that's an interesting fact. So at this moment, you have the training partners and the team that you need going into this fight, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir. I got everything. Everything is sort of set the way that I need it to be. And so, like I said, everything's running smoothly at this point of my camp.
Well, let's look ahead. Obviously, UFC 200, you mentioned July 9th is the date. You're on one of the most stacked cards of all time, if not the most stacked card of all time. What are your thoughts on being on such an important card? What does that mean to you?
It means everything. It means, I'm very lucky to be on a card that has, there's 20 fighters that had the opportunity. And if you look at the 10 that are on the main card, they're huge names, and 3 of them are title fights. I'm sort of, there's a part of me that's sort of excited to be on the card, because now I get to sit back and actually enjoy the main card. Whenever I'm a huge Kane supporter. I like Misha. I like Frankie. I like DC and John Jones. The only one that I don't have sort of a foot in is the Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt card.
Yeah. Well, that's a crazy one there. Since you brought it up, we have to get your prediction. Who do you think wins that one?
You know what? That
Is it above your pay grade? It can't be. Don't tell us that it's above your pay grade, Johnny.
Yeah.
We want a prediction.
Yeah. No. Okay, so I think that's 50-50 one.
Yeah.
50%. So because the reason why is we know what Mark Hunt can do. He's a heavy-handed hitter, right? But he sucks at the takedown defense. All right? And what do we know? Brock hates getting hit in the face. We've seen it time and time again. He gets hit in the face, and he will literally run to the other side of the octagon to get away from getting hit in the face. We've seen it, and we've seen it multiple times. So, but we also know that Brock Lesnar will do anything he can to get him on the ground. Because if he can get Mark Hunt on the ground, he will finish him. So, if Mark Hunt can come out there and hit him a couple of times in the face, I have Mark Hunt winning. But if Brock Lesnar sort of does what he did with the Crazy Horse back when he first came in, he throws that right hand, gets him off balance, and takes him down really quick, then you got to give it all to Brock Lesnar.
Well, I mean, it's like you mentioned, it's a stack card. It's absolutely star-studded. Looking at your fight, I mean, Kelvin Gastelum, he's a strong wrestler. He likes to mix up his strike. What do you see as his weakness going into this fight? What do you think you can capitalize on?
One is that he likes to move forward. That's something that I can definitely use against him. And the way that he throws punches, I'm not going to get into too much of the details because some of it is my game plan. But the way that he does certain things, I have figured out. I've watched the footage. And I think I figured out how to use that against him. And I really, really hope that he is right that way. But I've also prepared for a guy that knows that I can hit hard, and that he knows he sparred me before and it didn't go well. So what I'm thinking is that he might do a little bit of both, where he's going to try to come out and see if he can set up himself to be a forward fighter and come forward. And once I do what I'm supposed to do, and once I do all that, and he will turn into a guy that might try to throw a couple punches and run.
Well, he's obviously known for his wrestling, and you're known for your wrestling. Do you think this is a fight where the wrestling sort of cancels itself out, or do you believe your wrestling is stronger than Kelvin's?
Yeah, I think my wrestling is stronger than Kelvin's. I do believe that it is. Again, when we used to spar, I was able to take you down, do what I needed to do back in the day, but that was also a year and a half ago, so I can't count too much on that, if that makes sense. So what I have to do is I have to sit there and say, all right, how am I going to, with my hands and the way that my kickboxing and everything has developed in the last 2 years, I think it's going to help, and it's going to make everything set, if I time everything right, and that's what I'm working on. If everything goes right, it'll set up my takedowns, or if I don't want to, my punches that much better.
Well, speaking of setting things up, I mean, you're the former welterweight champion, Johnny. Gastelum's ranked number 12. You're still at number 5. What do you think a win over Gastelum will do for you in terms of this division and your title campaign?
You know what? Title campaign, I'm not even worried about that. I'm worried about just getting a win. I don't care about a title. Like I said, I'm overlooking. I'm done looking at all that kind of stuff. What I want to do now, I really want to make sure that I stay focused at one task. I hate to sound like a broken record, but that one task is the most important, because, like I said, if I start focusing on a title again, well, guess what? It could end up like the Stephen or the Wonderboy Thompson fight. You get beat. Well, guess what? Now you got 2 losses back to back. What do you do then? So that's why I'm really focusing on one thing and one thing only right now, and that is Gastelum, and see where that's going to lead me next. Like I said, to campaign for a title fight, if I do that, then there have been people that can jump. Look at Carlos Condit. He jumped me, and after he beat the number 12th ranked dude, it is possible. But as of right now, in my mind, it's only Gastelum.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a very interesting matchup. Now, we're going to let you go very soon, Johny. Just a few more questions. First things first, obviously new weight regulations coming in. I'm just wondering, obviously you were in great shape for your last fight, but is a part of you a little bit worried because there's new regulations that say that you have to check in at no more than 8% of your target weight at the beginning of fight week. How hard will that be in terms of your cut and making weight? Will it have any effect on you?
No, because Wednesday I hit 89.
Oh, wow.
So I just have to lose 5 pounds, technically, to lose 5 pounds by Tuesday. In 2 weeks, or 12 days, I got to lose 5 pounds to be under that target weight. I think it's 184 for my weight class. For 170, you can hit 184. But we want to come in. Last fight, I came in at 176.7 or 8. This fight camp, I want to come in at 181. No, 182. That's pushing it, though. I'd like to be at 181 because we easily lost 10 pounds the week of last fight. And so I'm actually doing better than I was last camp on my weight. So if that all stays true, I'll be able to put more water in me in the next week or so to keep my body weight where I want it. So whenever I go into the fight week, I'll be drinking a little bit more water, which will be easier to lose that weight.
Excellent. Well, that's good news all around. Johny, we'll let you go in just a moment. I mean, something we have to ask you about. The other big news is Georges St-Pierre saying that he's ready to return to the octagon. I know that Kelvin Gastelum is your one and only focus at UFC 200. I'm just wondering, this is a rematch that you've wanted for a while. Did it pique your interest? Did it get you excited in any way hearing this news?
No, because I've been hearing it for the last 2.5 years. It's like every 6 to 8 months he said he's wanting to come back. After this fight, I'll look more into it. But until that, until he's actually, the UFC says that he is coming out, it doesn't pique my interest because, like I said, it would. I told people that, if I had to move to 185 just to fight him, I would do that. But right now, I got 2 weeks left. 2 weeks to focus on Gastelum, and in 2 weeks, there's not going to be that much difference if he does come back or doesn't. But if he does come back in 2 weeks, it'll be perfect timing for me.
Well, there you guys go. Now, before we let you go, Johny, what's the prediction? How do you see yourself beating Kelvin Gastelum at UFC 200?
I just plan on, I plan on beating him down for 3 rounds. That's my main goal. Don't get me wrong. I'll be looking for the finish. I want to finish, but I'm not going to go out there and say I'm going to finish him. I want to go out there. I want to make sure that I show that I'm the more dominant fighter. I'm the better skilled fighter. And at any given moment, if the knockout's there or the submission's there, I will be going for it.
Well, there you go, guys. A brand new Johny Hendricks, reinvented in many ways, and ultra focus on Kelvin Gastelum. That goes down on July 9th at UFC 200. Of course, the time difference will make it July 10th here in Australia. Johny, we can't wait, guys. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter at Johny Hendricks. Best of luck in your fight, and thank you so much for chatting with us, Johny.
Hey, thank you, and y'all have a wonderful day.